What's the worst movie that you ever watched and why? Poltergeist. It's a French movie where a family buy a house haunted by gay ghost. Disaster movie. Holy shit, is that movie cringy and hard to get through. Cats. No explanation needed. Finding Jesus. A knockoff of Finding Nemo. The animation was bad. The voice acting was bad. The story was bad. And I'm pretty sure I saw a racist character. 2. There's 2 movies. Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Born into Mafia. It's completely amateur in every conceivable way. The Last Airbender, directed by Shyamalan, because I thought it'd be good. The Will Ferrell Sherlock Holmes movie. Only one I've ever walked out of the theater during. Sharknado vs. Lavalantula, and because my teenage pothead friends and I were ridiculous and liked watching horrible movies. High. Independence Day Resurgence. I just never felt attached to the characters and was confused by the plot. I almost feel like it tried very hard to be like the original, only for that to just completely backfire. For latest movies, Wonder Woman 1984 was too boring. I watched it when traveling and slept through 4 different flights. I never finished it. Movie Alone in the Dark. Why? Tara Reid plays an archaeologist. God's Not Dead. My sister highly recommended it to my atheistic ass, and talked it up so much that I rented it and tried to watch it with my Christian mother. I think I got it from Redbox well over a decade ago. It was horrible. Terrible plot. Worse acting. And actually quite offensive. I got a bit drunk and fell asleep trying to watch it for no reason other than to impress please my shitty sister. Even my mom thought it sucked ass. Jupiter Ascending. I own the 3D Blu-ray for it and have watched it in 3D multiple times. Writing is awful. Plot is terrible. Acting is so at best. But in the most hilarious ways. Definitely one of those so bad it's good movies. And the special effects are pretty great. I cannot, however, watch it all in one sitting. It's 2 hours long and I will fall asleep halfway through every time. Transformers: The Last Night. Nearly 3 hours of loud, mind-numbing garbage that just makes shit up as it goes, on top of being horribly made. I've mentioned this a bunch of times before. I hated The Mist. Everyone on Reddit hyped it up to be such a great film with an amazing plot twist. Ending. The entire movie sucked and I didn't think the ending was noteworthy at all. Turns out I actually watched The Fog, starring Smallville's Tom Welling. I've never cringed at a film harder than Jurassic World Dominion. I don't know if that's because I love the original trilogy so much, but my god. What a horrendous film. Either that or Jaws 4 with the sepia flashback and miniature plastic model shark at the end. Highlander 2 because it is quite possibly the worst movie ever made. Dragon Ball Evolution is the worst movie ever made. Fact: The Last Airbender is also trash. I watched A Walk to Remember as the third wheel of a movie date my buddy was on. His GF was so into it and he and I were dying. At one point, I leaned over to him and said something like, "This could only get dumber if there's surprise cancer." Literally 5 minutes later. Battlefield Earth. I fell asleep watching it. Monos: Hands of Fate. Battlefield Earth. Seriously. Just go watch it. It makes Plan 9 from Outer Space look like Citizen Kane. Probably comedy called Rabbit Jojo. I remember seeing some Nicolas Cage movie called Wicker Man or something to that extent. And every single person in that theater was saying, "What in the absolute fuck is this?" With about half the crowd leaving before it was over. I don't even remember what it was about. The Cats movie. I don't even need to explain why it's bad. Speed 2. Main actor is more wooden than a tree. Willem Dafoe is awful and Sandra Bullock even said it's the one film she wishes she never done. Horrible acting. Storyline: one man single-handedly stops bad guy crashing a slow-moving cruise ship into an oil tanker. Special effects, and thank God Keanu Reeves said no to appearing it in Green Lantern. I fell asleep in the theater. I'm a ridiculously light sleeper. So that says a lot. A Serbian film. I don't get rattled easily. But that movie left me disgusted for days. Fuck that movie. Spy Kids 4. Wonder Woman 1984 because it's shite. Morbius. No explanation needed. Go watch it and you'll see. Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. 1964. It's worth looking up, but for the love of God, don't actually watch it. Human Centipede. No explanation necessary. Face vomiting. The Room by Tommy Wiseau, but it's so unbelievably bad it's actually entertaining and I enjoy watching it. Garbage Pail Kids. There are lots of older or super low budget movies that are pretty bad. But at least they have excuses. The worst movie I've seen with no excuse to suck was Valerian and the City of a Thousand Planets. Seriously. How could a movie with that budget be so terrible? A nonsensical plot, wholly unlikable characters, and an ending that made no sense whatsoever. The whole film was packed with adult jokes and sexual themes not appropriate for kids. But so much toilet humor no adult would enjoy it either. It's the only movie I've ever considered walking out of. Rubber. Such a WTF movie that you hate you watched it. And can't understand why you sat through the whole thing. I'd assume you have to be under the influence of something to enjoy it. Because sober it was not. American Psycho 2. Yes, there is a second part and it's total bullshit. The main character strangled a guy to death. With condom. Forgot the name. But Jared Leto was a captured American soldier from WW2 and then becomes a Yakuza in Japan. Hands down Rise of Skywalker. The fucking return of Palpatine is so goddamn stupid. Antichrist because it's been 15 years and I'm still fucked up from watching it. The prequel Dumb and Dumber was so bad even my cousin and I, who were teenage boys at the time, thought it was awful. The only good part was Bob Saget yelling about shit being everywhere. Skinamarink. Look, I get the experimental aspect of it, but it was 90 minutes of static on a loop. Michael Bay's Ninja Turtles. Was hoping they would make it gritty like the 1990 version. Was amped up and the letdown was beyond measurable. Movie 43. Because it was awful with no real point other than being awful. So I watched it, hated it, and loved it. Atlantic Rim. Unless you see it on MST3K. Then it's amazing. Leonard Part 6. A Serbian film. No spoilers. This movie will legit traumatize you. Leave you shaking. In a corner. Naked. In the fetal position. Wishing you could take back ever watching it. But knowing you can't. It's part of you now. I'll probably catch hell for this. But one of them for me was Rent. I just could not get into it. Man shrugging. Halloween Ends was the only movie I've ever seen that pissed me off at how fucking terrible it was. Old. Bad writing and terrible acting with an okay plot. Batman and Robin. I can't count all the ways this movie was beyond horrible though. Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. Don't put Harrison Ford in a fridge during a nuke blast and expect me to take any of the movie seriously. Shia's mustache was hilarious. I guess since he's old all he can do is chase things in automobiles and such. Highlander 2 Endgame. Not only was it absolutely terrible, but I liked the first one so it was a major disappointment.